First at 5, week 2 wraps up in the double murder trial of Alec Murdaugh. And today we heard testimony from a crucial state witness for the second time and continued testimony about Murdaugh's alleged financial crimes without the jury present.
The court just heard testimony from SLED firearms examiner Paul Greer. Nick Neville has more on why he is a critical witness for the prosecution.
After reviewing casings found at the murder scene, Greer concluded that the 300 blackout shells match ones found elsewhere on the property.
The cartridge cases recovered items 2 through 7 near the body did have matching mechanism marks with several of the items from the area around the home and those in the shooting field, and several of those in the shooting field, to conclude that some of those had been, that those have been loaded into, extracted, and ejected from the same firearm at some previous time.
The defense pushing back, saying that there's not sufficient evidence to distinguish these shells from other 300 blackout rifles. Of note, Paul's friend Will Loving testified earlier this week that they fired this particular rifle outside the gun room a few months before the murders. That weapon is still missing. Earlier today, more witnesses testifying to an empty jury box about Alec's alleged financial crimes. Prosecutors are hoping to admit this as motive evidence for the murders. The Palmetto State Bank CEO testified that Alec was under crippling debt after the murders, at one point owing $4.2 million.
And after June the 7th, did his account run to negative $347,000?
Yes, sir.
And the bank kept paying?
Yes, sir.
Perhaps the most generous overdraft policy ever seen.
Quite possibly.
Tony Satterfield, the late Murdaugh housekeeper's son, also testified that Alec stole from a multi-million-dollar insurance settlement owed to the family after his mother's death.
Did you ever get 1 cent from Alec Murdaugh when he was still, before all of this happened?
No.
Ultimately, it's unclear how and when Judge Newman is going to rule on how much of this financial evidence will come before the jury. The jury did hear today from some SLED agents who conducted DNA swabs on several people, including survivors of the 2019 fatal boat crash involving Mallory Beach, and also the former groundskeeper at Moselle, C.B. Rowe, whom Alec mentioned in an interview with investigators just hours after the murders. In Walterboro, I'm Nick Neville.
On cross, defense attorney Jim Griffin got Greer to concede that he's not saying those casings were fired from the same weapon, only that they were cycled through the same weapon.
Again, we said this every day. A lot of questions still in this case, and if you are interested in watching this, we do have it on our WRDW app. All you have to do is download it. We send a push notification out every morning when court starts. Well, turning to weather now, we're taking a lot to child advocates. Next at 5, we explore a new bill that aims to help foster parents. Riley?
Well, we do have a cold night on tap. Heading into tomorrow morning, we should be waking up in the 20s. Have a look at the rest of the weekend for you, just after the break.
Health officials say that cancer numbers are currently trending down, but the Georgia Department of Health says that's not the case in our area when it comes to cervical cancer. Coming up all new tonight on News 12 at 6 o'clock, we're speaking with one cancer survivor who talks about the dangers of missing an appointment and screening.
Ramjack Foundation Repair.
When a child's biological parents are unable to take care of them, child advocates say living with a relative or someone with whom they already have a close relationship with can be a positive alternative.
This is called kinship care, and while these families serve a similar role as foster parents, they're not viewed the same in the eyes of the state. State House reporter Mary Green explains how new bipartisan legislation could change that.
The South Carolina Department of Social Services says the program it's proposing in this bill would support permanent placements of kids and teens with kinship caregivers, getting more of them out of the foster system forever. South Carolina is one of just 10 states that has not yet implemented this program, though it's been around for about a decade.
It's really important when these kids have trauma for them to be able to begin that healing process, and that's best done with family and friends that they know.
The bill would provide kinship caregivers with more legal authority to care for children, which they say would make processes like obtaining birth certificates easier. The legislation would also establish a kin gap program, allowing kinship caregivers to receive financial assistance similar to what foster families get from the government. A legislative estimate says the federal government can give South Carolina about $500,000 next year for this, while the state would also have to put in about $1.2 million of its own money. One South Carolina kinship caregiver says this legislation would especially help grandparents and older relatives living on fixed incomes.
They don't want to let the child go into foster care because it's a child, it's a family member and so on, and they want to take care of the child. If they do that, they today may not have any financial support, and they're already struggling.
This bill will next be considered in the Senate Family and Veterans Services Committee next Wednesday, after advancing out of a subcommittee this week. Reporting from the State House, I'm Mary Green.
Nearly 4,000 kids and teens are currently in South Carolina's foster care system.
The Department of Social Services says about a quarter of them are with kinship caregivers.
All right, much more news ahead, but we're going to take a live look outside.
Like weather shows up early next week. We got temps in the 60s Monday and Tuesday, and then hitting the 70s by next Wednesday.
All right, thanks for that, Riley. One Spelman student is making a name for herself. Next at 5, we meet one of the designers featured in Target's Black History Month collection.
Investigate 99999.
Sophomore Cadence Patrick is just one of 3 students from historically black colleges and universities across the country chosen to be part of Target's Black History Month collection.
If you haven't seen the collection yet, it's pretty amazing. Zach Summers caught up with her to ask her what was the inspiration behind her designs.
It's surreal.
A sophomore at Spelman College, Cadence Patrick is already making a name for herself in the world of graphic design.
I still have to pinch myself.
The computer science major is one of 3 HBCU students across the country whose designs are featured in Target's Black History Month collection.
I want to do something positive, something motivating, something that is, very uplifting and forward-thinking.
Cadence' winning creation depicts a young black man holding a glowing orb that reads, "Black futures are bright." Her 17-year-old brother was the inspiration.
My brother, he's one of the most kind and creative people I know, and so I just thought I want people like him. I want young black kids to see that and think yeah, my future is bright. I can do whatever I want.
Cadence digitally drew the design using an app on her iPad. It's now on t-shirts, a baby's onesie, and journal products available in Target stores and online.
I always want to be thinking, what can we do next? How can we inspire another generation?
Cadence says she hopes the future allows her to blend her passion for art and technology so she can continue to make a positive impact in her community.
Black History Month isn't just about looking back on our history and reflecting on that. That is super important, but it's also about the history that we're creating every single day. So it's just an amazing feeling to be a part of that and to be able to sort of send the message that we are always creating history.
It's pretty cool too. She's doing it with her brother, about her brother, so you don't see that very often. It's awesome.
No, and so when you're looking in Target, now you'll know where these designs come from. And I mean, a sophomore, her future is
very
bright.
That's awesome stuff.
Riley?
Well, heading into the weekend, we are going to see temperatures stay below average all the way through Sunday, but heading into next week, we're warming right back up. Have a look at that 7-day again, just after break. Till next Thursday.
All right, thanks, Riley. That's all the time we have. Much more news and weather coming up on News 12, live at 5 after a very short break.
The accident was not my fault.
When you're injured, you need help fast. Call George Sink Injury Lawyers at all nines.
You need someone that's gonna fight for you. Call now.
Call George Sink Injury Lawyers at all nines. The Augusta Home and... That day, we made a promise. A promise that we made for a lifetime. She gave life new purpose. With her, beautiful things begin to grow. She knows how to keep the party going and is always up for the challenge. Her Her smile and her dance moves fuel me every day. She's the key to my heart and the lock that holds us together.
News 1220.